Atha Yoga Shushasanam. Now I present the teachings of yoga. Hello my friends, welcome back to Atmaflow. Today we're gonna discuss the first verse of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, Atha Yoga Shushasanam. The Sanskrit word Atha means that is or now. So Atha means now. Why? Now is the time to practice yoga. Now is the time to hear and learn about yoga. Because now we have this human form of life. We have this human body to practice yoga. Also this word Atha is used in many scriptures in the beginning. It's very sacred and that was auspicious. For example, in the Vedanta Sutra, a very spiritual and high philosophical text used for so many spiritual seekers, it is also said, Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Now is the time to ask questions of the absolute truth. An animal has not the opportunity to think about the creation, about the universe, about God, about the nature of the soul, where I'm coming from, where I'm heading to. But now, Atha Yoga. Everyone knows yoga, some headstands, some stretches, some gymnastic, some asanas, sitting postures. But that has nothing to do with yoga. The word yoga comes from the root yuj, to contemplate, yoke, to unite, to join, to connect. So yoga means to connect body, mind and soul, to connect the individual consciousness with the absolute truth. In Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, we learn about Ashtanga Yoga. Ashta, 8, Anga means limbs. 8 limbs of yoga, starting with Yama, Niyama, the do's and the don'ts, like don't steal, Ahimsa, non-violence, reading the scriptures, living in celibacy, worshipping God, and so forth. This is the foundation of yoga. Otherwise, yoga is just gymnastic. If you don't follow the yamas and niyamas, then comes asanas, like we know nowadays the yoga asanas. Pranayama, what means to expand your lifespan, to control the life energy, the prana. And by controlling the prana, the airs inside your body, you will be more energized, more healthy, but most important, your mind will be completely calm. What brings you to the 5th stage, to the 5th limb, Pratyahara, what means to withdraw the senses and the mind of the objects of the senses. So we are engaged in this material world, but in the same time, we're not attached. We're completely detached and find wisdom, peace, and happiness within. Then comes dharana, concentration, contemplation, to focus on one thing, to meditate maybe on a mantra, some thought, some feeling, just one pointed meditation, completely focused, concentrated. Dhyana, meditation, is the next stage higher than dharana, where you don't meditate anymore about one object. It's more passive and you just observe and be in the present moment. And then we have samadhi, where your consciousness enters actually into transcendence, where you're not being bound anymore by these material miseries. This is the 8 limbs of the Ashtanga Yoga system. But samadhi is not the end. The end is kavalya, to give up this material world and to get liberated and let everything behind. But this we're going to discuss another time. Yoga, unite, join, connect. But also the word yoga, according to one commentator on the Yoga Sutras, he says yoga also means to unjoin. What does that mean? It means that the Purusha, the individual soul, unjoins Prakriti, the material nature, so that you completely step back from the material miseries of birth, death, old age and disease. If the mind is directed on one object, he will experience the 5 bhumis, or the 5 degrees of focus, wandering, confused, distracted, and the last 2 very important for yoga, restrained and concentrated. If the chitta, the mind, is restrained and concentrated, it will enter into samadhi, into the first stage of samadhi called sampragyata samadhi, where you concentrate the mind of a specific object of a meditation. The highest form of samadhi would be asampragyata samadhi. This stage of samadhi you obtain when the pure objectless consciousness is focused on the internal consciousness instead of the external object. If we combine the teachings of yoga, it will lead us to this point gradually. Atha yoga anushasanam. Anushasanam. Further teachings, this yoga process. In the Yajnavalkya Samhita we learn it was first spoken by Hiranyagarbha, who emanated of the navel of the lotus flower of Lord Vishnu in the Garbhodakashayi ocean. Another name for Hiranyagarbha is also Brahma. Brahma is the first created living entity whose responsibility it is to create the whole universe. God created Brahma, and then Brahma, he was born out of a lotus flower and was very bewildered. Completely darkness in the universe. He looked left, he looked right, he looked in the front, he looked in the back. Couldn't find out where he came from. So he started to meditate. He went into yoga, and then he heard the words tapa tapa, what means tapasya, renunciation. So he understood through yoga, through meditation, everything will be revealed. Later, he got a specific Gayatri mantra to chant, and with this mantra he could create the whole universe. I know it sounds very esoteric, but this is what the old Vedic texts explain. Also, Ashtanga Yoga was spoken by Lord Kapiladev in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the 3rd canto, where he speaks about Sankhya philosophy, Sankhya Yoga, and the execution of Bhakti Yoga, devotion to God, devotional service, devotion and love to God. And there already he spoke about the 8 limbs of mystic yoga. So Patanjali, he wants to further discuss this subject matter. So he's not the first one, that's why Atha yoga anushasanam. In the famous Bhagavad Gita, in the Yoga Bible, 5,000 years old, where you have each chapter a different kind of yoga. The main 4 topics are Jnana Yoga, the yoga of mental speculation, of knowledge and wisdom, renunciation, Karma Yoga, to give up the fruits of your work, Jnana Yoga, meditation, and the essence of the scripture, Bhakti Yoga, love and devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Krishna told his best friend and disciple Arjuna that a yogi is better than an ascetic, better than a jnani, and better than a kami, means better than renunciates, philosophers, and people who following religious principles in order to obtain material happiness. And he told him, under all circumstances, become a yogi. Our material bodies are made out of 8 elements, 5 gross and 3 subtle: earth, water, fire, air, ether. And the subtle elements is the mind, intelligence, and the false ego. So the purpose of yoga is that we uncouple from the body and from the chitta, from the mind, to get free from the samsara, from the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. And again, birth, death, old age, and disease. The highest good lies beyond the intellect. Yoga is superior to any other school of thought who will remain connected to the intellect. Like a person on a treasure hunt immediately gives up the torchlight if he finds the treasure. In the same way, a yogi can give up all these material engagements, all his knowledge and wealth, by attaining the highest perfection of life, by getting free from this material bondage and miseries, and with his pure consciousness attaining the absolute truth. And this is called asampragyata samadhi. If you want to see more content about yoga, pranayama, and the philosophy behind it, then please hit the subscribe button and help us to reach out to more people like you. Thank you for watching. Namaste. If you like this video, you're gonna also enjoy this one.